Yeah. Okay. One perfect. Okay. So I will ask the questions, then turn my mic off because it's weird on my audio. Um, and I have, let's see, I think I have like 6 questions, so it should take 10 minutes. But if you want to like redo something, we can. Well, okay. Start. How long have you been working at sorry, this is better. How long have you been working at Walter Orthopedic, and what is your specific role in designing the Stride Soles orthotics?
Well, I've been working at Orthopedy Walter obviously my whole life because it's a family business. So I grew up in the workshop. I grew up around all those machines. When I finished high school, I learned the profession. So in Germany, it's 3.5 years where you really learn the profession in detail. So I learned even how to produce custom orthopedic shoes. And one part of it is always the custom orthotics. And I learned it from very severe cases, and that's why we're pretty advanced at doing it for the regular misalignments and problems. Ever since I worked here, I had an internship, or 2 years. I was an expat in Switzerland doing basically the same in another company. And then I returned back to the family company. And ever since I work here, my task at Stride as head of design is to build all the strategies. So that means the questionnaire is one basic part, one very important part of information that I need for determining the solution, the treatment strategy. And building this treatment strategy is my main task at Stride.
Okay, great. Next question. What does the design process actually look like when a Stride customer order comes in? What do you do with the scan data and quiz responses, assuming that we're giving you the scan and the gate and everything?
Yeah, so the design process is pretty complex. So the order arrives and then it pops up in our computer. We see the 3D scan image of the foot in an unloaded situation, which allows us to determine how well the arch, for instance, still builds. Then we get the gait analysis, where we see how the whole foot and legs, lower limbs up to the lower back behave during gait and in dynamic. And then we have the questionnaire that tells us about the pain points, because that's nothing we can guess. Pain is always subjective. And basically what we have is the scans, the dynamic scan, the 3D scan, together with the pain zones, together with, and that's the last cornerstone, the use case. Because for soccer cleats, we need different orthotics than we would build for instance, hiking shoes, right? Different muscles are active, different shoe conditions, different volume inside the shoe. So those 3 parts of information will be processed by us, and that leads us in the end to the final treatment, to your custom Stride.
Awesome. Okay. Question 3. What is the most common mistake you see in mass-produced orthotics that you specifically avoid?
The most common thing, the strategy that the mass producers follow, is they want to minimize the complaints and returns. And the easiest way to do that is by just making super soft insoles that don't help. It's just a cushion, but obviously it won't harm or it won't feel bad. So the returns will be very low, but the device itself doesn't really change a thing. On the other hand, we have the manufacturers that produce super hard and rigid insoles, not allowing the foot to stretch in any way, take space during the load. I mean, the foot stretches, right? The muscles build up, they swell. And that's why we create a semi-rigid orthotic that is flexible. It has some cushion, it's compressible, but it always returns into the position it was before it's used to be. So it gives you the right amount of support at the time where, depending on the load.
Awesome. Okay.
Do you want me to do that again?
Yeah, sure. Why not? What's the specific? Sorry, I'll do it again. What's the most common mistake you see in mass-produced orthotics that you specifically avoid?
Well, the mass producers of orthotics have one main goal, and that's minimizing the returns. And that's why a lot of those follow the strategy to just make them super soft, so they feel good initially, but they won't support in any way. It's just soft, it won't hurt, and that's why they cut down the returns to almost zero. On the other hand, we have the ones that build insoles very, very rigid. You see those in the 3/4 lengths, hard shell plastics. And the issue there is it supports you, but always the same. In some situations, the foot stretches, the foot swells because the muscles swell. So the foot needs more space, and the super hard, rigid orthotics don't give the foot that space. And that's why we decided let's try to go with a semi-rigid orthotic that is flexible as your foot is, but in certain areas, it gives you the support you need, but not super rigid, always with a little bit of a bounce, right? So that we make sure to give the right support for the occurring load.
Okay, cool. I think that's good. We'll run with it. What does your father's background teach you that you can't learn anywhere else?
Well, my father has 40 years of experience in manufacturing and designing custom orthotics. So basically, he taught me everything I know. And the good thing is he gave me a head start, because his 40 years or 30 years of experience until I stepped in the company, this is experience I don't have to make anymore. I just need to listen carefully. I learn from him. And what we achieved is transferring my father's brain into the software. That's how we came up with the shoe selection, the pain selection, the questionnaire, like having a special treatment for every pain. And that's developed over 40 years with universities, universities all over the world, like in Calgary, Canada, to Cologne, Sporthochschule, always from practice, for practice. And that gives me a huge head start now to build the system, to make it scalable and accessible to you.
Awesome. Okay. How many orthotics has Walter Orthopedic produced, and over how many years?
How many insoles did Walter Orthopedic produce?
I don't know. Just say 10. Just say, I don't know, actually. 10,000 maybe?
No, no. We produce like Walter Orthopedic produces 4,000 a year. So 4,000 times 40 years will be, you tell me, it is around 1.6 million?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
Wait,
no.
4,000 times
4,000, add 1 0, so it will be 160,000, right?
Okay, yeah, give that
But
answer.
do you want me to say how many orthotics Walter produced, or we with our Walter strategy, because we extrapolated to everywhere in the world, so we could say it's close to 2 million then?
Yeah, say close to 2 million used all over the world, like all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So how many have as Orthopedic Walter produced over the world, and since you guys have been in business?
Well, the strategy of designing orthotics, we extrapolate to basically all over the world. So we're represented in many, many countries. And over 40 years, we produced close to 2 million insoles, supplied them to customers, partially remotely, like we do with Stride soles, and partially on our own local foot clinic where we see patients on a daily basis.
Great. Okay, last question. What does custom actually mean to you technically? What's different about building to an individual scan versus a size template?
So the foot is very, very unique, right? We have 28 bones, we have many, many ligaments, muscles, and it's like a fingerprint. It's super custom. But the issues that we have are more or less the same, reoccurring once in a while. So we have our treatments that are different elements for the insole. But the way we position it, the way we determine how high, how stiff it is, that's all done by the custom scan, 3D scan, as well as the gait analysis from the customer. So the off-the-shelf insoles, they just accommodate high arch, medium arch, low arch. We accommodate way more issues from toe to heel and everything in between, even to knees, hip, lower back. And that's only possible with a real custom orthotic, a real custom treatment, and that's the most important point, a real custom analysis.
Okay, I think that's it. Maybe, do you want to talk about your grandfather? I don't know if you know him that well. Like, sorry, if you know like the history that well, but it could be interesting.
My grandfather, he was a shoemaker, so he was not in orthopedics.
Similar enough, close enough to be like he was worked on shoes, so he understood the foot, and he taught my father, taught me. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to do it.
No, it's fine. We can try. I mean, if it's just rubbish coming out of my mouth, we'll cut it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I'm curious. Like, tell me about. So your grandfather was one of the last shoemakers. So he kind of started the tradition of caring about the feet and walking and gait, all these things, and then it transferred to your father and you. Is that correct?
Yeah, as you said, he was one of the last shoemakers, traditional shoemakers in our city, in our town. There were many before.
Sorry. Start with like because I'm not gonna have my question. So
okay, yeah,
like,
understood.
My grandfather was that.
Yeah, understood. You want to give me the go still? Like,
yeah,
ask the question again. It's easier for me.
Yes. So, as I understand, your grandfather, Bernhard, I think, was the first, and not the first, the last shoemaker in your region. So that means that he has a lot of institutional knowledge that he taught to your father, then down to you. Can you tell a little bit more about the history of the family in the region?
Yeah, so my family history and the connection to feet start like 2 generations ago with my grandfather. He was a traditional shoemaker. His name is Bernhard. That's my second name. So I'm named after him. And he started in 1952 with his own business in Oberkochen, building shoes, repairing shoes, like being in contact or in touch with feet every day. And he taught my father the basics of how important shoes are, how important feet are especially. And since it was a dying profession, the shoemaking, my father decided to not step completely away from it, but like extrapolate it to the health section as well. So he was the first orthopedic shoemaker in the family. And part of orthopedic shoemaking is building custom orthopedic shoes, as well as making the fitting and matching insoles. So he started in 40 years ago. This year, it will be our 40th anniversary for Orthopädie Walter, and got a lot of experience, like introduced a lot of technology. He was the first one to ever build insoles digitally on a milling machine, CAD-based design, and today we're printing them. It's the latest technology, the best technology, environmentally friendly, and most accurate. So that's what we build our foundation on and continue to strive until many, many years later, hopefully.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you very much. We will stop the recording, and then yeah, we can go back on Telegram or wherever we're talking. Sorry, on Zoom. I don't know, blanking today. Yeah.
Was it your final words for the audience or for me? Telegram? I've never been on Telegram, no?
All right, that's how I talked to Zach. Sorry, there ended up being like people that started watching it on YouTube, so I just told them that. But yeah, I'll see you on